On January 27, 2022, at 6:37 p.m., the aircrew of the Riverside County Sheriff's Department H-145 helicopter, call sign Rescue 9, was dispatched to an injured California State Park ranger. The ranger was responding on foot to assist two stranded hikers that were in ice and snow conditions at the 8,000-foot level of the Skyline Trail on Mount San Jacinto. In the ranger's attempt to hike down to the victims, he slipped approximately 200 feet on the icy snow. During the fall, the ranger lost his ice axe. He grabbed a small bushy branch, which stopped his slide just at the edge of a cliff. At this point, the ranger was nearly upside down and hanging halfway off a cliff drop-off that was approximately 500 feet deep. He had limited visibility due to darkness, and the temperature was below freezing. The aircrew arrived overhead approximately 40 minutes after his initial call. Seeing Rescue 9 overhead, the ranger radioed them and advised that hypothermia was setting in, and given his position, he would not live if he was not rescued very shortly. The ranger began talking the aircrew onto his position. The aircrew noted that the ranger was very panicked, and they had to calm him down over the radio. The ranger apologized, but again reiterated that he believed he would die if not rescued. He stated he was losing his grip on the branch and could not feel his hands due to the cold. He conveyed that he was holding on only by a small branch and his heavy pack was pulling him down over the top of the cliff. The aircrew acknowledged his situation and began to assess and formulate a plan. The aircrew consisted of Pilot-in-Command Deputy Chad Marlin, Co-Pilot Corporal Andy Rasmussen, Hoist Operator Deputy Andrew Piggott, and EMT Rescue Techs Deputy Mike Edwards and Deputy Mike Doyle. Given the location of the ranger and the icy conditions, and that the EMTs had no ice training, the aircrew decided to lower EMT Mike Edwards, who had micro spikes on his boots, to the victim to assess the situation up close while remaining on the hoist hook. Hoist Operator Piggott placed Edwards approximately 20 feet upslope from the victim. Once Edwards was on the ground, the ranger repeatedly yelled that he was thankful to see him and stated he had to be rescued now as he was upside down and losing his grip. Edwards advised the aircrew that he had to disconnect from the hook in order to make his way to the ranger. Edwards said he understood the risk he would be placing himself in, however, stated, "He is going to die if I don't get to him now." Edwards was concerned that remaining on the hoist hook while walking down to the ranger would interfere with his movement and negatively affect his efforts. By disconnecting, Edwards willingly chose to leave the certain safety the hoist hook afforded him and possibly place himself in the same situation as the ranger. He believed his footing was secure enough to make his way down to the upside-down ranger. Edwards slowly made his way to the ranger and assessed his situation. The ranger stated his heavy pack was pulling him down toward the cliff edge and prevented him from helping Edwards pull him up. Edwards had to cut the pack off, and once he did, the ranger was able to move much more freely and assist in his rescue. Edwards was then able to pull him up and situate him in a somewhat safer position to place the rescue harness on him. Edwards successfully placed the ranger in the harness, despite the challenging conditions, and radioed that the ranger was ready to hoist. Deputy Piggott, as a hoist operator, is responsible for ensuring the safe operation of the hoist, as well as advising the pilots as to the safe maneuvering of the helicopter while at a 200-foot hover, all while standing outside the helicopter on the skid. The pilots must respond to those commands and expertly keep the helicopter away from obstacles. Despite the darkness, high altitude, wind, and nearby trees and rock faces, Deputy Piggott expertly placed the hook in Edwards' hands. Once the ranger was secure in the helicopter, Edwards was subsequently hoisted out. The ranger was flown to awaiting deputies down the mountain at the Palm Springs Aerial Tram parking lot, where he was treated for a leg abrasion injury by paramedics. The actions of the aircrew are more extraordinary given that they had not trained for, nor were appropriately outfitted with ice gear. Normally, Rescue 9 would insert volunteers from the Riverside Mountain Rescue Unit via hoist to effect an ice snow rescue. However, Given the extremely time-sensitive nature of the Ranger's position on the mountain, this was not an option. He could not have survived the extended response time, as the Mountain Rescue Unit was responding to another technical rescue over a half-hour away. Given the totality of circumstances, Edwards' relative newness to the unit and position of Rescue Tech EMT, Edwards' actions that night were extraordinarily selfless. Likewise, the aircrew's decision-making, expert flying, and hoist operating skills no doubt ensured a safe and positive outcome despite the very challenging conditions. Their actions and professionalism that night reflect well on the unit, the department, and law enforcement as a whole. For their heroic acts that epitomize APSA's motto, to serve, save, and protect from the air, the Airborne Public Safety Association is proud to award the 2022 Captain Gus Crawford Memorial Aircrew of the Year Award to Corporal Andy Rasmussen and Deputies Chad Marlette, Andrew Piggott, Mike Edwards, and Mike Doyle.